Hey guys, so welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to install the Node.js um, JavaScript framework. Well, you might be asking, why do we need Node.js, even though we're trying to set up a free radios kind of implementation? Now, the truth is the world has changed, right? So a lot of things have changed. The way people build applications have changed. The way people make applications responsive, kind of have changed. And the Van world, of course, use Node.js to kind of provide a real-time mode that is in the Radius Desk user interface. And one of the real-time mode is to actually see, as things change, right? So you might immediately kind of see what happens if you have a log if you have an error in your radius configuration. So basically, in the introduction, he made some, good details as to why, the choice for, web Node.js, and of course the technologies we're going to be using within Node.js. Of course, things like the socket.io wrapper, and of course you can see that we basically need Node.js to make WebSocket calls, basically. And for us to achieve the WebSocket calls, we need to use socket.io, and of course which the client will connect to, and vice versa. So, but setting up Node.js in CentOS, of course, has never been that easy. The reason being that some of the dependencies, of course, kind of depends on other stuff. So, but in this case, of course, as of time of this recording, setting up the Node.js is a piece of cake now on a Red Hat based system. And of course, you can see we need to install the following Node.js dependencies globally. So globally means we need to use the npm-g flag. But of course, for us to install, Node.js, we need to make sure that we install Python. Of course, on Python is dependencies and all. And one of the things we need to also ensure we do is to actually kind of compile Node.js. So in the Ubuntu repositories, you can see that they already have a Node.js package, but in CentOS, as of the time of this recording, at least to my knowledge, of course, there's no better way of installing Node.js. Of course, at least the recent version of Node.js on the Yum repository. So to get started, of course, we need to first of all install the dependencies. We need to make sure we have the G++ and the make dependencies, and hopefully we have that. If you don't, make sure you install the GCC G++ and of course the make package. So but yep, so of course once this returns, we're going to see if we have the make package. I think we should have make package installed, but you can see that it did not find the G++, so I think it should be GC So let's try that, of course. So GCC C++, right? So this should be, yeah, the package. So of course it's already installed, but just in case it wasn't and the right name is GCC C++ installer. So we need those two to help us compile Node.js. And of course, like I said, in CentOS we're going to do some things differently, so this wouldn't work. So we need to go to our tools directory, and within the tools directory you can see that I have a folder called Node.js, so node.js, and here I have different versions of Node.js. But of course, if you do an LSA, you can see that we have these two versions of Node.js, and then the other version of Node.js, which is the Node v10 and all that. So for us to do this, of course, these two will not be available. This will be the ones that will be available on download, or of course you can go ahead, go to the Node.js website and download the all package, anyone that works for you. Alright, so what I will do now is to actually kind of compile the Node.js. So to do that, of course, we need to kind of extract Node.js, the version 12 tar.gz. So this is also a very big file. Depends on the speed of your PC, of course. It might take a while. So so once we have that done, of course we can go into the node v12 that we just created, and of course you can see that we have the configure, the kind of configure make install pattern that we described earlier. So you should not have problems with this. Of course, I'm going to kind of configure this, and since there is no documentation here stating the the compilation of that, we're just going to go ahead and kind of configure make install. So make install. So depending on the speed of your PC, this might take a while. So of course. So as this goes ahead and spit out a bunch of garbage on your screen, you just have to be patient and wait for it to complete, or go get a cup of coffee, and of course it should finish by the time you get back. So let's see if when it's complete we continue. Okay, so it did take a while, but depending on the speed of your PC, of course, depends. So now if you run a witch on Node, for me, because I did a kind of configure make install, we have Node available here, and of course it went ahead and also installed the npm package. So you can see the USR local bin npm. So this is what we're going to use to install the dependencies. And of course, once you have that in place, then we can go ahead and run these commands in order. We're already logged in as root, so of course, we can go ahead and start installing this file. So let me test if I have internet access in the box. So of course, make sure you're connected to the internet, because this will go to the package repository and try to download the file. So if for me it's taking a while to resolve, so looks like I need to fix the problem with my internet. Alright, so sorry about that. My internet kind of was acting out. So we need to install the the tail command. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be splitting the commands, but just to show you how one of this is installed. This will basically go to the npm registry. You can see here it's downloading the files, and as soon as it finishes downloading the files, it's going to go ahead and install it. So I mean, if you see errors like this, no repository field and all, you can go ahead and ignore that, right? For us, we're getting the tail modules installed and all that, so this should be fine. Of course, you can go ahead and install the npm connect. So the reason why I'm leaving the socket IO for last is something I want to show you guys. Just just so when you see it, you don't kind of freak out. The first time I saw it, I thought there was an error with the install, but just fine. So I'm leaving it for last. So hopefully this, depending on the speed of your PC, your internet, and of course how fast these things are, you can we can skip these parts of the videos, and come back when we install everything, or of course come back when we need to install the the socket IO files and the forever files. So I can see this is already going to install the connect. Alright, so I'll come back when some of the installs are complete. Okay, so like I said, depending on the speed of your system, of course it's going to take a while. Mine took a while. So this is one of the things I wanted to show you towards the end. This error here that shows that kind of there's an error here, build error and all that, and of course we went ahead and built it. We're not really worried about this error. Basically, I can still install the socket IO package that we're interested in. Of course, here just having some hard time compiling the WS module. So but this will do just fine. So of course we've installed all the dependencies. Make sure you follow them as in order. So once we do that, then we need to kind of create a startup script. So lucky enough, the vendor world created a Node.js startup script for us. So but this is for Ubuntu. So I actually created a tweaked version that will run on Red Hat based distro. So going back to our tools directory here in the Node.js folder, you can see there's a file here called node-socket.io. So go ahead and copy the node.socket.io file and take it to your etc inet.d directory, and we need to ensure that the file is executable. So we're on 755 on it, so the d socket.io, node socket.io, and let's just take a look at the socket.io file just to see some of the mode I did. Of course, I just kind of gave it a name, created some different kind of links, and one of the things I want you to look at also before you start is here you can see that this I've gone ahead and actually made sure that the path is correct for the application directory that's in the CentOS library, and the kind of node path that we have is in the USR local lib node modules and the USR share JavaScript. So basically this is the modules directory for the node, and of course this is the kind of binary directory for bean. So make sure this actually corresponds to the path as to they kind of point to the right location. As for this, we're using the varrun and varlog directory. Of course you can actually pipe it to or kind of give it a directory kind of location in your temp file, but for us the PID will just be fine if we put it in the varrun file. I mean, just like the default with most Red Hat based systems. So just to kind of give you a clear view into that, if we run the which node again, you can see that the node binaries in the USR local, and of course if you go into the USR local share directory, of course USR share lib node. So you can see that we have the node modules. So this is the node modules directory, USR local lib node modules. So just be sure that you have that, and you can see the 1 2 3 4 5 the 6 dependencies that we install here. 1 2 3 4 5, and let's go ahead and confirm. So connect, and yeah, connect socket IO forever, and of course the npm. So of course it's correct. All right, so once we have that, go ahead and add the file. So let's add this node socket IO. All right, so we've added that, and we can go ahead and kind of make it start on boot. So make it persistent. So make sure it starts on kind of on startup. And one more file that we need to edit before we actually go ahead and start the node socket IO file is to go into the var dub. Let me just go back a tad to show you what I mean, why we need to go back. So here there's something I kind of pointed out. You can see it pointing to the var html cake2rd directory, and you can see in the setup there's a node.js file. So we need to edit this to make sure that it's actually in line with what we have. So of course we can edit it right from here. Cake2 rd cake setup node.js. so we have different files here. Of course we have the log file.node.js, and then we have the node.js socket IO file. So of course the one we're interested in here is the log file.node. Alright, so let me just do that. So here you can see in the setup in the node.js we need the application directory here, which is the node.js file. Alright, so once we do that, let me go ahead and let me just copy this link here just to be sure that we're in the right directory. Alright, so in the node.js file we need to edit the log file.node file, log file.node, and everything here is good until we get to this point where it says file name. We need to make sure that we point to the actual log directory for radius, and of course we can go ahead and leave the port to 8000. Yep, so you can see it's listening on all ports, and everything is pretty much set up apart from the connection here. So make sure that you change this to your database user credentials. So because we use the default RD, this is fine, but if not, make sure you do that as well. And of course you can see here we get the query, kind of ensure that something's already running as expected. Of course console log, you can see up and running on port XYZ. So once we have that, and of course because we made a directory writable by the web server, we can go ahead and actually start the node socket IO service. Alright, so once we start that and you get the forever processing file log file node.js file, and of course you can see that it's starting that, and we can go into var log node socket IO, and you can see that everything is up and running. If you don't get this, you get an error, then of course I need to go back and check the kind of the steps that we did. But basically the node.js file, this is what we need to set up. And if we go to the documentation page, we've pretty much done everything to this point. and of course we started it. We've seen that it's up and running. And one of the things we need to be ensured that the Node.js is running is to kind of test a little web server here. So once we take this up, we can kind of modify this to the IP address of our RD file. So if we're served with JavaScript like this, then you're good. If not, then something went wrong, and go back to the steps we did, and kind of make sure that you follow along as as we went through in the video. So these are a few things you need to remember though. So of course, WebSockets are cool and all, but just so you know that it's not supported in IE version 9 and below. So of course you must be running the latest version of Internet Explorer, just because WebSocket is considered part of the latest HTML5 kind of elements and stuff. So, and also remember that this port is running 8000 and some files may block it, so make sure that you open port 8000 if you have a very strict firewall requirement. And of course, one of the things you also need to consider is, of course, that although this node server serves the free radius log file, it will only be visible if the requester provides a token belonging to the root user, so the root user of your database file. So all other users will not be allowed to see this log file through the Node.js server. So this is something you need to understand. And of course, you can go ahead and go through this documentation in detail, but we've done everything that we need to do to make it work in the CentOS operating system. Of course, if you've gotten to this point, then everything is cool and everything should work. One of the things I want to do also in this video is to ensure that we've go ahead and actually clean up our install. So what I mean by clean up our install is some things are still hard coded, some files are still hard coded, and those things are not kind of listed in the documentation page, and hopefully to be kind of clearly stated. But for now, we need to go ahead and ensure some files are actually set correctly, and if not, then we need to make sure that it's set. And one of the things we need to also ensure we do is to go back into the HTML directory here in the RD files. Here I found some kind of customizations that kind of need to go through all these files, and one of the neat tools, kind of one of the neat things that we require. Of course, if you go into bootstrap.js file, of course nothing spectacular here. This is the the XJS part of our application. So of course, if you go into the app directory here, yeah, so we need to change a couple of stuff here. So if you go to the control of directory here and you go into the kind of the different options that you see here, one of the files I want you to look at also is the profile files. Of course, we can just go ahead and check some of the files. So see access provider. Of course, you can go ahead and search for var www, and of course it's var. Okay. Just bear with me here. I just want to confirm that one of the files here is set correctly. So let me check if it's seen as. Okay, so let's. All right, so see log viewer. All right, so everything is pretty much set up. All right, so if that's the case. So if that's the case, let's go back a tad, and we need to make some changes in the cake to RD cake directory. We need to go into the config directory here, and there's a file here called radiusdesk.php. So we need to ensure that this file is in line with our CentOS install, and everything here seems fine. Some things we don't use at the moment based on our current install, but yeah, so of course you can see that we need to update the free radius file here as well. So just make sure we change it to USR local, and here we need to make sure that dictionary file points to the correct location, including the rat client. And yeah, everything here seems to work just fine. Of course, you can go ahead and change some of this. So yeah. All right, so let's see if the free radius controller. All right, so this is exactly one of the files you need to also make sure you check. So you see here, even though it's not stated in the documentation, we need to ensure, because since we are running the sudo command and we're going to be running this from the Apache user, we need to ensure that the path is set up correctly. And to do that, of course, we need to kind of update this path. So we need to update this with HTML with this. I need to make sure that it's replacing about 16 occurrences of this line. So of course, since we've done this, we need to ensure that it's correct. All right, so if you're wondering where I went to, of course, it was in the var.html cake2 rd cake and controller directory, and we edited the free radius controller, of course. So this is where we have some hard-coded files, and of course, if there are any tweaks, then we can still indicate it in upcoming videos. Otherwise, if you're just setting up the radius server, then you're done. Otherwise, you can go ahead and continue. So pretty much we've done everything on our agenda. We need to just spend the next video checking out the user interface for Radius Desk. And if you have any questions, as usual, just make sure you kind of point it out in the comments or forums, and I'll make sure we kind of tackle that for you. So but for now, at least we've covered a lot, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.